What's going on, all you Facebook Live and YouTube Live fishing freaks?
We're back.
Y'all. Make sure you share this to get it out there. Dale Redmond, what's up, buddy? Thanks for joining us. Nolensville, Tennessee. Good old Rocky Top, Tennessee. That's awesome. Guys, we are going to potentially have Brad Taylor from Borders on here tonight talking about some of the hot baits that he has sold the most of at Borders, so you can stock your tackle boxes up this fall. But with that being said, we are going to hop into the intro video. Right after the intro video, we're going to talk fishing, including a potential new state record smallmouth caught in New York.
That's a life of a fisherman you wouldn't understand. Something you can't feel on dry land. You gotta get your arms way up in a cage and set the hook on smallmouth bass, and then you'll understand. You gotta get your hands on a Shimano reel and a G-Loom that's trying to bet you like what you feel. Step on the deck. Give the world. Hello, welcome to my world.
That's right. Welcome back live to On Another Line. Tonight we're going to be talking about doing some fishing. It's getting into that fall area, JR, when the water's cooling down. The bass are going to start eating. They're going to start feeding up for that fall and winter pattern. And it's going to get eventually cold enough to where dumb people or smart people, which are not you and I, are going to stop getting on the water. Like, I don't know, like you were at Yatesville this past weekend. What was the water temperature?
70s, like mid 70s. So it was a little bit better. I mean, I fished like 5 hours, and honestly, I threw a bunch of different stuff, and started doing really well on a square bill. So, which, you know, shallow water square bill, it's pretty classic for fall. So I'm glad it started panning out. Back at creeks, finding a little bit dirty water.
Dale Redmond says he's been smashing big smallmouth for the last 3.5 months at night. I think we talked about that before, man. That's awesome. You know, JR and I had the opportunity to take my boat out the other day on the river. JR caught the only 2 fish that we caught the whole time because I was too stubborn to change. But why on earth is a wacky rig so daggone impressive to catch fish with? First off, it has to be one of the most brutal ways to fish. Mm-hmm. Other than standing on in front of your boat live scoping, as we were just talking about, JR and I, before we just got on here.
That's more brutal.
That's very brutal for me, but like it comes down to the fact that like it is like you literally have to force yourself to fish it as slow as it needs to be fished. I refuse to throw a weightless wacky rig. I know that they probably catch more fish. I throw it on a 16th ounce. I think it's a 16th ounce. I have to look here. I don't even know if they make a 16th ounce.
It's 16th or an 8.
I think it's a 3/32, maybe. Let's see. You guys are not seeing this. I apologize for that, but I'm looking right now to see what sizes they are in. They are tungsten. So they come in an 1/8 ounce, and I swear I think they come in something else. And I think they're 3/32.
I was going to guess it was an 1/8. I mean, it felt decent size.
Trying to find here. 3/64 of an ounce and 3/32 of an ounce.
Yeah.
So it's not quite an 1/8. Little less than an 1/8. Little less than a 16th of an ounce. So we might as well say a 16th and an 1/8. I like both of them, but that's what I'm going to be throwing a bunch of times. So my buddy Dusty Smith is fishing a tournament this coming weekend in Norman, I think. Or maybe, I think it's this weekend on Norman. It's a super tournament for that tournament series down there, the BFLs. They are expecting 4 inches of rain on Friday night before the tournament. That's crazy. Charlie Hewitt, what's up, buddy? It's good to see you, man. I ain't been fishing with you guys much this year. Been fishing the Toyota Series, which turned out to be a kick in the pants, but that's fishing. That's the deal, Dale. Like, my biggest thing is, like, I hate them, but as a co-angler, it is absolutely something that you have to have in your arsenal. But what I was talking about this weekend, and Dusty's fishing a BFL this weekend down there in Norman, and they're expecting 4 inches rain on Friday, which is going to definitely cool the lake off down there. But I told him, I was like, if I were going to fish as a co-angler and I wanted to make sure that I caught fish every tournament, especially in the summer, there are 3 baits that I would definitely make sure that I have tied on. I'm going to have some kind of type of top water. We've talked about top water shows 100 times in the past. Norman is full of like spots, bigger spots, smaller spots that are in between. Definitely going to have some type of top water bait. It's going to be, for me, split between a Pop-R or a walking style bait like a Spook Junior. There's no real frogging area down there that I know of, but I'm also going to have a wacky rig tied on as a co-angler. But above and beyond that, I think we talked about it, last week, or actually 2 weeks ago. I talked about the shaky head in pretty great detail. We had about an hour-long show talking about shaky head and my baits that I like to throw on there. But if I was a co-angler and I wanted to guarantee that I can catch fish, those are the 3 that I would take with me for sure. I feel like that you can pitch like a shaky head or even a wacky rig under docks and things like that. If you have a shaky head rigged correctly, you could potentially throw that thing in some hardcore cover. You could throw that thing right in the middle of a tree top if you wanted to. Now, if you have it rigged incorrectly or your hook is not exposed, you're going to get that thing hung up 100% of the time. And that's just kind of the way it is. But those 3 baits I would definitely have tied on, especially, Norman, some place like that you can fish for spots. Spots chew on a lot of different things, which is amazing good stuff here. So we have Brad Taylor hopping in on here in just a second. We're going to bring him in. So again, Brad Taylor is from Borders, and we are going to talk about some of the things that he has sold the most of today, or this last summer here at Borders, and we will see what's going on. Hey, Brad, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Cool,
Brad,
man. Yep. So again, guys, just talking about a second ago, Brad is from Border Sporting Goods in Ashland, Kentucky, or Summit, Kentucky, over there in Kentucky somewhere. It is the one-stop shop for everything hunting and fishing in our area right now. They, a lot of people don't even know the Borders exist. And that's why we're having Brad on tonight, for those of you that are in the area that are kind of filling the void that the Tackle Box left. Well, we all know the Tackle Box had, it was a fishing store that had like 2 or 3 hunting products in there, some guns and a few other things. Where Borders and Brad and those guys over there, they have a mixture of everything, but they're now building their fishing section up to rival with the space that they have to rival the Tackle Box, and wanted to bring him on to talk about some of the key baits that you may have sold. So Brad, give us some information. What kind of baits did you sell the most of over there at Borders?
Well, since the arrival of forward-facing sonar, the main baits that I've been selling are the tungsten heads and ounces from 1/8 to 3/4 ounce. And then the main bait of choice has been the Wing Fluke, and that's made by Zoom. And then the missile, you're going to have to help me on that one. The missile, yes, Spunk Shad, that has been on fire too. And then also Zoom is making a little 3-inch minnow looking bait that has been really, really popular here the last few weeks too. So mainly those type of baits. And then of course the Rapala Crush City in the Mayor and the, tell me again, the freeloaders, they have been on fire too. So mainly the minnow style baits. We've done really, really well with that, and we've kept them in stock. We've got plenty of them. We've done really well with those, and then also here lately, the jerk baits are starting to come back into play.
Yeah. So that's, and we've talked about it, Brad and I, you and I have talked about this in store, how forward facing sonar has changed the game for fishing and angling as a whole, but it's changed the game for tackle shops like yourself, because it's basically pigeonholed you into an area where it doesn't matter how much stuff you have. People are only looking for those forward facing sonar baits. But my favorite bait right now to throw in the real hot summer months is going to be a Carolina rig. If you were going to pick a couple baits as far as soft plastics to put on a Carolina rig, in your opinion, what would be some decent baits to throw on that thing?
The guys that are buying the Carolina rig and stuff are buying either the baby or full size or mid size brush hogs. That's been very, very popular on the guys that do that, and also. The Z-Crawl has been really popular on Carolina rig, which is more of a jig trailer looking bait, but it is an outstanding Carolina rig bait. I used it here a few weeks ago at Cave Run and had pretty good luck with that. Caught a couple of fish that were just an eyelash from 15 inches long, and it does get you better bites.
Yeah, that the mid-sized brush hog, I think, is a real game player. I think that there was a gap between those brush hog sizes. There was the baby brush hog or the tiny brush hog, which was minute. It was like a creek bait, in my opinion. And then you had a baby brush hog that was, in my opinion, fairly small, wasn't that great. And then you had the brush hog, which I felt like was an absolute monstrosity of a bait. So I think that they nailed it with that mid-sized brush hog there, coming right into that spot where it needed to be anyway, I think.
Right now he's throwing a shaky head 2.75 shad color swim bait on a 1/8 ounce jig head, drop shot strike king 1.5 green gizzard, and stunna jerk bait. All those sound like great things. All of those we have at Border Sporting Goods as well.
That's right. So we were talking about jerk baits there a second ago, and we've done shows about jerk baits, but I like to throw jerk baits when the water temperature hits 50 degrees and throw it all the way until temperature hits 50 degrees the following in the springtime. A couple of things that you can pick up over at Borders, or if not, he can order it for you. Some of my favorite ones are going to be the Jackall Re-Range 110 is a phenomenal bait. If you pick up a Jackall Re-Range 110, I don't know if it's called bone. I think it's just called white or something. They're white. It's pearl white, I think is what it's called, but it's a really good bait. But if you pick up a Jackall Re-Range 110 or even a 115 or whatever, and if you throw one of the things the first time, I bet you, I would almost lay money on it. I would give it, I have $100 in my wallet. I would give it to you. If I didn't tell you about this bait when you casted it, the very first cast, you would think you broke it off.
Look at your rod tip.
Because it has a weight transfer system in it. And it snaps just like the line sounds like when you're breaking. Like if you casted a lure off, it sounds just like that every time. And I've been fishing these baits for a better part of 5 years, and I almost still can't get used to it.
I will tell you this. The other thing that's great about that bait, where you do get such a transfer of weight, it casts like a rocket. So it gives you distance, which gives you depth, because the farther you get the bait away, the depth gets better too.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it goes to say, I don't know if you guys are able to carry them yet, but you guys have Megabass over there yet?
Not yet, but I have made contact with them, and they're supposed to be setting me up. And hopefully that is soon, because it's not far. I mean, here in a few weeks, jerkbait season will be on.
Yep, I agree with that 100%. That's not the Vision 110 is a really good bait. I don't think you need to overlook the Shimano World Minnow. The 115 is really good. That has the flash boost technology in it, which has basically a piece of foil that shakes in the bait, even when the bait is totally still. It seems like a gimmick, but I'm telling you, I think that especially on certain days when you have a little bit more light penetrating the water, and really, especially in really clear lakes, somewhere like Lake St. Clair, Lake Erie. I mean, Grayson and Yatesville, even though Ohio River right now is almost gin clear because we've got zero amount of rain this summer. But I think that little twitch of, flash, to me, I think it would trigger a bite if a fish was lethargic and was just if the bait was looking at the fish and it was just standing there in, suspended, and the fish could see that it could, it almost reminds me of like fins moving or gills moving in and out. It's just some kind of movement that is not natural for a bait that they normally see.
And JR, did you all not catch some fish down at Dale Hollow on that, or what was you all throwing down at Dale Hollow when you all were down there this spring?
Probably more of the Vision. We threw that. Honestly, I've been a big fan of the Stunna from day one. I mean, which honestly, I think that's kind of what they molded the Stunna is to be the cheaper Megabass. Their colors are great. I was going to mention too, Brad, that new Maverick is really good looking bait. I've caught some fish on that too.
Yeah,
Jacob Wheeler designed it.
Throwing the Maverick here. I think when you talk about jerk baits, you kind of have to throw it back to the old school, and I'm drawing a blank right now. What is the
Smithwick?
Yeah, there it is. It's up here on the old. This is a deep diving version of it, but the old Smithwick. And
is that a floater?
I think I caught a. I caught the biggest smallmouth that we caught when JR and I was down there on a jerk bait, and I'm pretty sure it was it must have been a 110 plus because it was a little deeper diving one.
It was a plus. That was just a hair shy of 5 pounds, as I recall. That was a good looking fish.
It was a big fish for. Dale Hollow is a weird place. I love fishing there. I've been there 3 times now, but man, it is super tough to fish, and especially with forward-facing sonar now that's out there. If you draw somebody as a co-angler with forward-facing sonar at Dale Hollow, you might as well just sit down and have you a sandwich.
Break out the vine.
Yeah, it's but it's a good place to fish. But jerk baits are definitely something that I would, I throw a lot of times. Like I said, when the water temperature hits around that, like that 60-degree mark, normally about 50. I have a lot of luck out at Yatesville on those things. I fish Grayson more than Yatesville, not for the fact that I don't think there's more fish in Grayson. I fish Grayson, 1, because it's a challenge, and 2, I fish Grayson because there's less people there, to be honest with you. But I like throwing a jerkbait out there at Grayson too. And there's a lot of times that one thing that I've learned from forward-facing sonar and having it on my boat is that it's amazing to me how far fish will travel to eat a bait that's suspended over them. I'm talking 20 to 30 feet they'll travel in depth to eat something.
Yes. And then a lot of these guys are really good at forward-facing sonar. They're using the jerk baits, and the fish are coming out of 20, 30 feet of water to come get it.
Yeah. JR and I were out there at Yatesville last weekend. We caught a few fish. We didn't smash them. We didn't hammer them. But my goal right now is obviously it's always to become a better fisherman, right? Like, that's why we sit here and talk fishing, and we have people on, and it's all about, when I feel like that I'm a pro and I can't ever learn anything else with fishing, then I'll just quit. Because that's the whole reason I like fishing so much, is that every day it changes. You can go out on a Saturday in September and absolutely, smash their guts out on a freaking 1.5 and go out the very next day on the exact same lake and never catch a fish on it.
Not even get a sniff.
Yeah, and that's what's so crazy about it. But when you have things that in this area, what's so crazy to me in this area about fishing is that one, there's so many people that like to do it, but two, we live in what I like to call the armpit of America for bass fishing. Man, we have 0 good lakes. The river sucks, but yet, man, there's so many people around here that likes to fish. I guess, it kind of goes back to the whole deal where, there's you got a couple options in life. Fishing is one of them, and the other ones are pretty bad. I don't know if any of them are any more expensive though.
I mean, you can find heroin pretty cheap nowadays, so.
Yeah, so you play music. That's right. Hey Fred. So update on my boat. If you guys don't know, this summer I've had some up and down issues with my boat. And first of all, my boat is a 2006, so the dang thing's almost 20 years old. So it's at the time where it's going to need some maintenance and stuff. But the deal was that the reason my boat was down all summer is that I had an injector go out, and I can't find any injectors for my boat because Evinrude is out of business, and Evinrude stopped making parts, from what I understand. All of the injectors that I called everywhere, I'm talking about from California to New York down to Florida, you name it. I called dealers that claimed they had them in stock. Nobody did. Ended up finding some, and it took me about 3.5 months to get them cleaned and get them installed. Boat is back up and running. JR and I had it out on the river this past weekend, and it is running like a top. Boat is for sale, not because there's anything wrong with it. I'm just looking to upgrade. I mentioned it before. It's a 2006, got an Evinrude 250 on it. Has an absurd, like a really low amount of hours for the year. Again, it's almost 20 years old. The motor has 280 hours on it, which is crazy low. I mean, normally most pros put over 300 hours a year on their boats. I'm at 288 on there. 2 ways to buy it. I'm not going to bore you guys to death with it, but if you know anybody that's interested in looking at the boat, you can buy it as it sits. It comes with a brand new Ultrex Quest, which was $4,200 when I bought it. 2 15-inch Solix, which are $3,700 a piece. A LiveScope LVS 34 system, which was about $3,000 when I bought it. 3 Odyssey PCM 31s in it. 0 gauge wire running to the graphs. Has a Bob's machine hydraulic jack plate. New tires on a trailer. You can buy it that way right there for $32,000. Or if you want it bare bones, where I put an old trolling motor back on it and 2 6-inch graphs, you can pick it up for about $20,000. So, with that being said,
you got an offer.
What is it?
I said you've got an offer already.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway,
How'd you all do on the river this weekend? Because the river has actually been pretty tough.
So it was the water temperature, if I remember correctly, was I think it was 77 degrees, wasn't it, JR?
Yeah.
It was really good. It was tough. The only 2 fish we caught were spotted bass, but they were. Did you catch 3, JR, or 2? You caught 2, right?
2, yeah. Two largies, both on wacky rigs, both underneath docks because it was so hot.
They were spots, weren't they? They weren't largemouth. Yeah, they were 2 spots.
I didn't so
Yeah, so what he's talking about is every fish we caught was under dock because, man, I tell you what, like it might have been one of the hottest days I've ever been out on the water, period. It just was crazy hot, just kept getting hotter.
Brent's getting you there, Brad.
I'm getting gouged already.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah,
it wouldn't be you if you weren't.
Yeah. I feel like I'm at the store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's the new stuff coming out that you're excited for? I know we've talked quite a bit about the new Poison Adrena coming out, and I don't know if you've got any of those. And I know there's a lot of new rods and reels.
Yes, actually, I just got in, I think, a couple of the Poison Adrenas in yesterday. And then I got in some, trying to think what else new I got in. I should be getting the new Berkley pintail minnows, and I forget what they call them, but I got to see them at the show the other day in Salt Lake City, and they are the best looking. I mean, I really think they'd work as jerk baits, but I mean, you could put a belly weight in it and use it as a jerk bait, but it's designed for forward facing sonar. But the color schemes on them are so realistic. If you put them in your hand, you would think, oh my goodness, that looks identical to a creek chub or a perch. It's that realistic looking.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the drip minnow, correct?
Yes, the drip minnow. It is it is the prettiest pintail minnow I've seen so far.
Yep. Here it is, guys. You see it on your screen here. Here's a black shad. There's look at that blue line. Look at that thing. That thing is crazy.
It's like a bandit.
Look at that thing. That's crazy.
Notice how the picture there, it looks like it has like a tube inside of it, right behind the eye socket.
Yeah.
It looks like that's the reason that it has been held up from production, because the way that minnow comes through the water, it doesn't just dart, it shimmies almost like a Cinco. They are making sure that they call it something else, but they're making sure that doesn't fail, because you remember how it failed on the coal shad, not swimming right, and they had to buy them back. Well, they learned a very valuable lesson on that, because that cylinder, that's what they call it, that cylinder causes that bait to rock back and forth. And when it does, it looks just like a minnow swimming, because I got to see it in the tank. It's incredible. I mean, they actually threw 7 or 8 other baits in front of it, and the fish in the tank didn't even react to them. They just looked at them. They didn't even swim toward them, acted like they could care less they were in the tank. As soon as they threw that in the water and it started shimmying as it was swimming, a fish went up and absolutely engulfed. I think I showed you, JR, that video. Did I not show it to you?
Yeah, you showed it to me over there at the shop. But
yes.
Like, these collars are crazy, man. Like,
very, very realistic looking. I mean, it's really impressive and the ones that we had at the show, like I said, are prototypes, but at the same time, the color scheme. And here's the other thing: you guys go up to St. Clair just like I do. The perch one is, I couldn't imagine throwing it up there at St. Clair. You will get bit every cast.
Yeah, and that's the deal. Like, I don't know, like, where do they stop, right? I mean, do they get, right now they're so crazy that it's so, like, you have to think that, like, everything gets more realistic. Like, back when I think about realistic baits, I don't know, 5 years ago even, you had those, like, the crankbaits, they were called like bait ball or something that somebody created that looked like a bunch of bait. And so those baits were like, I was like, they're not going to get any more real than this. Well, guess what? Like, technology is going to keep evolving, and then we're going to eventually, like, I mean, right now we have technology that we can see fish, and we can see our bait going to the fish, and we can see the fish that's not going to eat our bait, and we're going to get pissed because we can see the fish that's not going to eat our bait when we can see our bait. Eventually, we're going to be like, just hit a button. It's like Ronco, set it and forget it, right?
Yeah, set it and forget it. Yeah, the years past, we've had really good cheeseburgers. Now we got steak and lobster.
That's right. Dan Miles is correct. For those of you guys out there looking for a good tournament to get into, the River Rat is coming up very soon. Still have time to get into that. One thing to be noted there, unless they've changed it, you cannot pay your entry fees at the ramp the day of the tournament. The River Rat used to be ran by a fellow named Mike Drummond, who was Kyle Malone, one of my best friend's uncle. He passed away, and we were given the idea of taking it over. And we ran it for 1 year, and then COVID hit. And then, man, I tell you what, running a tournament, people don't understand how much work goes into it. And it was just like so much work, and COVID hit, and we just stopped it for a while. And then Dan and the folks at River Valley Bass Club reached out and wanted to know if they could pick it up and take it on. And they did. Last year ran an awesome tournament. Didn't have the opportunity to fish it. but it's $200 entry fee. You have to fish it as a team. As far as I know, unless the rules have changed, you can't fish with a substitute. You have to fish with the person that you fished the first day with. I would say you could fish only one day if you wanted to, but you're still going to pay $200 for the entry. There are a lot of cool rules with that stuff, and unless they've changed it, you can weigh in 6 fish, and that all may change. I don't know. That's their rules now. But as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, it's the first weekend in October. That's when it normally is on the Ohio River, on the Ohio or the Cold Grove Ramp. Really good time if you guys are interested. Holler at Dan Mullins or go over to River Valley's Bass Club's Facebook page, like that, message somebody there. They'll get you access to that.
I've also got the applications at the store too for that, because Dan brought them over to me, him and Larry Slack, and they have there've been a few people already come in and get into the tournament, and it's a fantastic tournament. These guys that love fishing the river, which the river this year has been clearer than it's ever been, and it's got grass everywhere. So I'm really looking forward to see the weights in that tournament. It should be a really, really good weigh-in.
Yeah, the year that we ran it, man, I'm not going to lie to you. We had some. First off, I feel like it's one of the biggest tournaments where you have a lot of hammers come out for that one weekend. Like, I mean, you have people like legends like, George and all those guys coming from down on Louisa, and you have people that fish the river, like Brandon Klein and those cats all over the place. Brandon come in to the year that we ran it, which was 2019. Him and his partner, man, they had like 22 pounds in 2 days on the river, and that's flat whacking them on the Ohio River.
That's catching them.
Yeah. He told me that he was going into areas and finding like super dirty water and throwing a big old spinnerbait, and they were absolutely just chewing the fire out of it. He said, when I'm talking about shallow, he said, like, I feel like that I could have stepped out of my boat and not got my knees wet.
That is how it goes. In that time of the year, they will be up shallow because the bait fish will be up shallow. But I really look forward to there being a really good weigh-in this year, because where the water has got clear like it has, this rain we're getting right now, in the next 3 or 4 days, I think we're expecting some off and on rain. You get some water flow in it before they have that tournament. I look for them to catch some really good fish in that grass, especially if it gets a little dirty where you only have about 18, 20 inches of visibility instead of 6, 8 feet like it is now.
Right. So that was one thing that, like, JR and I were looking at the other day, that there's like, and I'm glad it's coming back. There's more grass on the river right now than I think I've ever seen in my life. And I think that has something to do with the amount of fish that are here. And like, you can go upriver, like even the Gallipolis Pool or above that. If you go to like St. Mary's or even higher than that, you go towards Pittsburgh more. I swear it feels like the fishing gets better as you go upriver. And then you have the Greenup Pool, which is like it's like barren, it's like scorched earth. And then you can go into the Meldal Pool and it starts getting a little better. And then you go down past the Meldal Pool and it gets a little bit better. And it's like this one little section that we have right here. There's like 10 spots between Gallipolis and the Greenup Dam. And if your boat's not fast enough to get there before somebody else does, you're going to have a rough day.
Yes.
But
there's a lot of grass.
Those big grass mats. That's what I would want.
Yeah, if the water comes up, if we get some rain, the water comes up and floods some of those grass mats, it might be just absolutely hellfire. Because
it is. That's what I think will happen.
I'd say, but one thing that I will tell you, and JR had this, and I had this conversation when we were out there the other day. I think the reason that it's so tough in our area, especially in the Greenup Pool, every spot you pull up into that has grass, there is so much bait fish in that area that I swear I feel like you can walk across it. I mean, just oodle scuds. I just don't understand it. With all the bait fish, and we got some grass now in this area right now, man, and on the Greenup Pool, I feel like that you're more apt to catch 5 spots than you are. Like, I fished all last summer on the river pretty much every week, and I was catching 10 spots to every one largemouth or spot or smallmouth. So I would like for it to get it. If we could get those things somehow to get bigger and more plentiful, I love catching big spot bass.
Oh, they love topwater, and I love that about them. Kentucky bass.
They're one of the most pretty bass on the planet, in my opinion.
Yes, they're beautiful fish. Well, the fishing,
Tyler
like I said,
Williams.
should get a lot better.
Yeah, Tyler Williams says I need to see one of those glide baits. So Tyler, I will get you those as soon as I get them done, man. They're slow moving right now, just for the simple fact that I'm not losing interest in them because I'm going to build them for sure. But right now I'm building 2 acoustic guitars in my free time at school, which is minuscule and mediocre. So I'm building 2 acoustic guitars, and once I get those things done, I'm going to crack into those things. It's liable to be wintertime before I get them done. But I promise you, when I get one of them done, I will call you up and let you have one of the first ones, because the deal is I think they're going to be great baits. But I'm also going to tell you they're not going to be cheap. They're going to be one-off CNC handmade glide baits, and they're going to cost you $150 to $250 a piece, depending on what you have. I mean, they're going to be what it is. So I hate to build a bunch of baits that I'm going to have a lot of time and effort in, and just have a big giant collection of baits like this hanging on my wall up here.
They are cool looking though.
Yeah, I don't know I think I got a picture of them on Facebook. So, Jared, what 1.5 were you catching them on at Yatesville?
It was actually a Rapala Tiny flat side.
Oh, Ott's Garage?
Yep. So it's until I picked up that specific bait, I was not catching anything. And then when I started throwing that, I was catching them every couple casts. So,
but you're talking about, that's a flat side there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is a
computer chip.
Circuit board lip.
Mm-hmm.
What depth were you?
Yeah, probably 3 to 5 feet.
Yep. So they should be moving up because the water temperature has dropped.
Here's a prototype of that glide, made out of hard maple. I'm not a fan of the tail. I have to do some stuff there. The problem is with these baits, they're going to be all different weights, because all the weight or like if you were pouring these in resin, you can pretty much know that they're all going to be the same density, and you can use basically the same amount of weight, and they'll all run the same. Wood, on the other hand, hard maple in the instance of this bait, is less or more dense depending on what tree you get it cut from. So I literally have to hand weight every one of these things, which is what takes so long. But no clear on this thing. It's just a random paint job. They are 7 inches long. I'm figuring they're going to be 2.5 ounces probably. They're going to be fairly large. I could build anything from a 7-inch to 36-inch, depending on how big you want to go.
Around here,
I'll say these are great.
Yeah. So, and if once I get them down, guys, I'll be able to crack them out. I have a CNC machine at my school. I could put that wood on there. I could cut 40 of them a day. The hardest part is weighting them correctly, because there's a fine line between too heavy and too light, and if they're either one of those, they are going to suck. Second off, painting them, you almost have to paint them in batches. Like if you want a gizzard shad, then you're going to paint like 10 of them in gizzard shad, because the way it works is with a spray or with an air gun, especially mine, you just put some paint in a gravity fed cup, and then you spray a collar, and then you got to wash that cup out of that paint. So, if you're switching different collars, you either have to have 3 or 4 different airbrushes, or it takes forever to paint one of them. So I'm working on it, man. Trust me, I will get you a glide bait, and I'm absolutely hoping that they ended up being something like the Huddleston, and I can quit teaching and we can go fishing all the time.
Anything like that, you definitely could.
Yeah. So, or the Hinkle trout, right? Dude, those things are freaking nuts. So I saw that McKee down there at McKee Outdoors in Tennessee had some reaction and innovation. I assume they're walking baits, but he was asking $40 a piece for them, and I don't know why. I don't. Maybe they were custom painted or what, but man, it blew my mind. But I'm interested in that Poison Adrena that you were just talking about. You got some of them in. Are they casting or spinning?
I think they're casting. I'm pretty sure.
I am a huge fan of the Poison Adrena. I'm just going to call a spade here. It's my favorite rod on the planet. And the only reason that I don't own 100 of them is Shimano's warranty. Now, with that being said, obviously I'm affiliated with Shimano and I'm not knocking them by any means, but that's why I buy Loomis. You know, G Loomis was made by a fellow named Gary Loomis way back in the day. A lot of people don't know this, but 23 years ago, Shimano bought Gary Loomis's company out from them. They're still making rods one at a time, just like they did back in the old days, handmade one at a time, Washington State. And you're getting a better warranty, but you're also getting a much higher price tag. For example, an NRX Plus is like $650 to $675 a piece. It does have a limited lifetime warranty. The Poison Adrena has I think it's a 1 week deal where you can take it back to the store. After that, it's a 1 year warranty. But a lot of people don't know that Shimano has something called the Express service where 10 years down the road, you break a Poison Adrena. For half of the money, they'll send you a brand new rod that is equivalent. If they don't have a Poison Adrena, they'll send you one that's equivalent. It's still a fairly decent amount of money. So if you figure $350 to $375 or even $400 for a Poison Adrena, you're getting a brand new Adrena for $200. Whereas, you know, the Loomis, you're spending double that for the warranty. But so it's kind of give and take. But I don't say this lightly. And I don't want you guys to take this the wrong way because Loomis is the real deal. I don't feel like there is a huge amount of sensitivity difference between an NRX Plus and a Poison Adrena. I just don't.
I've got both. I definitely don't feel like I haven't fished enough with bottom contact baits on the Adrena to compare, but I mean they're so light. That's what I love about them. I mean, I picked up a few of them at Borders over the last several months, and I think that they're great topwater rods. They're great action rods of any sort, just because you don't get the fatigue with them because they are so stinking light.
Yeah, so my arsenal right now of Poison Adrenas, and these are the Poison Adrena. They're not the original Poison Adrenas, guys. If you fish Shimano in a long time, so Shimano and the Poison Adrena is actually a collaboration between Jackal and Shimano. But there was a Poison Adrena A, which the handle came up from. Matter of fact, I think Brad still got a couple of them over there. They're really cool rods. From what I understand, the reason that those handles come off of there is because they are a Japanese rod, and Japanese cars over there are not as big as American cars, and people couldn't get them inside of cars, so they pulled the handle off from them to get them into cars and things. So that was the Poison Adrena A, and then now they have the Poison Adrena that I have, which is the one that first came out with the monocoque handle, which is a fully carbon handle. And now we have the Poison Adrena, which I assume is the Poison Adrena B, I think is what it's called. But my Poison Adrena lineup, I have a 172 heavy, 173 medium heavy. I have a 7-foot medium spinning rod. I have the 7.2 medium heavy glass. I have the 7-foot medium glass. I have the 7.6 extra heavy that I throw a frog on. And I have the 1611 medium plus in the casting rod. Phenomenal rod. It's probably the most all-around, like the most versatile rod that I own. Amazing for jerk baits. Great for small baits. I was throwing a weightless trick worm at the Potomac River this past year, caught 7 bass on it, anywhere from 2 pounds. I had one almost a little over 5 pounds. awesome baits or awesome reel or rods, as Jared was talking about. You can fish them all day long and not feel fatigued, which is great. So, you know, I'll definitely own some of the Adrena Bs for sure.
They feel great. I will say that. I mean, they really do. And like you said, they're super sensitive and super light. I mean, fishermen that spend the money to win tournaments and really want to compete at a high end, you know, a lot of people say, oh, well, I can use this $39, you know, whatever, cherry wood or whatever, and catch just as many fish. Well, here's the $1 million question to that. If you feel every bite instead of some of the bites, what's that mean? That means a lot.
Yeah, it means you're not catching them. Yeah.
Exactly, because I'm not kidding you. You know, you take a Poison Adrena or any of the G Loomis rods, I tell people you can feel one just literally flash on the bait and the bait not get touched by the fish, but knock it off its way, and you can feel the bait or the actual current of the water hitting the bait, knocking it off the line. And you at least know you're getting looked at by the fish.
Right.
You guys have a lot of those GLXs too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been selling pretty well.
Yes. Yes. They've been actually doing real well. Well. And they actually come out, you know, yes. And here's the other thing they come out with in that, which is really sold well, is the new drop shot rod that is 7'2" instead of 6'10". It's a 7'2" mag medium. So that gives you an opportunity to fish a little bit bigger bait without feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's one thing that Jared will tell you, man. I'm a finesse guy. I'm power fish too, but when I finesse fish, I hate having a buggy whip in my hand, man. I got to have something that's got to have some backbone to it. If it's out there doing this number, I feel like I just don't feel like they're as sensitive, because there's this like the way the line comes off the rod. If it's just barely moving the tip of that rod, there's a lot of inertia that has to go to your hands for you to feel it, in my opinion.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I like those that have a little backbone. Matter of fact, I throw my drop shots on the 7'1" NRX Plus, the 852.
That's a fantastic rod too. That's a great rod to, as I call it, cracking tubes, stuff like that too.
Yep.
You had a drop shot on, I think it was something you probably had up north. It was on the NRX 7.3.
It was 873.
And I told him, I feel like I'm like using a 4x4 to fish drop shot on right now. Because personally, like, I love that medium light, like, you have that preciseness of that drop shot rod, the specific one, that NRX Plus, and I think it's just a different strokes kind of thing, you know.
The reason that you're talking about that drop shot and being up north, you're right. But the reason that I had that tied on that 873 is the fact that, or 872 is what it was, but is the fact that I was fishing the St. Lawrence River, man. If you've never been there, the current up there, Brad will tell you, it blows my freaking mind. I've never been there, and he told me it's like the tail race of the green at Bama everywhere, and he is 100% true. It rips, man. Yeah. So I was throwing a drop shot with a 5/8 ounce weight on it, and I still couldn't feel the bottom.
No, you have to just about go to an ounce to truly feel the bottom in those type of situations. And it needs to be tungsten, because if you use lead, it's too broad and it catches too much water, and then it pushes the bait still down the current.
Yeah, it was crazy, man.
But is that not a fishery?
Oh, well, so that's the thing, man. Like, I can't say that I enjoyed it because I didn't have the time to pre-fish, but it was really tough to fish there. I think if I was going to drive up that far north again, I would probably just go to Champlain. I know there's not as big of fish there, but man, you can absolutely whack on some fish at Champlain.
Champlain's a fantastic fishery too. I've done really, really well up there because I went up there probably at least 4 or 5 times in a 5-year spell, and stayed up there for quite a bit of time and fished a lot. And you go one day, you frog fish, and you catch 100 bass, and mainly largemouth. you go to the upper end and you catch 100 smallmouth a day. And it's such a wide variety of fishing. One day you're throwing a crankbait, one day you're throwing a spinner bait, day you're flipping a jig into the docks. It's just a really, really, wide variety of fishing styles up there, and you can use every one of them, still catch the fire out of them.
Yeah,
Sounds like a blast.
Yes.
I threw a spy bait. Of course, we were up in the north end. Obviously, it's fish for smallmouth. But one of the craziest things that I thought about the Champlain is that there's certain spots in Champlain down towards the lower end of it that's 600 foot deep.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's
That's
crazy,
why they
man.
say they don't know they don't know for sure if Loch Ness is in there or not. They call it Champ, but
Yeah,
they
they call
think
it
they've
Champ.
got a Loch Ness monster. Yes, and
Yeah.
the locals up there, they get mad if you make fun of Champ.
I think that's
'Cause
what
they
that dude
believe
hit.
it.
I think that dude
That's very
said he hit that dock
possible.
up there. He probably hit Champ.
That's very possible, according to those people. They
Yeah.
take that serious.
Speaking of
wouldn't
St. Lawrence
there.
River, though,
Yeah,
I read a story today online, and it has to be true because it was online. You know, there was a guy, I did see a picture. The guy caught a 9+ pound smallmouth out of St. Lawrence River. Now, this part could be made up, which I hope it's not. A fellow that I follow knows this guy. I don't know. It beat the state record, but I think the state record smallmouth is like 9 pounds 4 ounces, and this one beat that one. I don't know by how much, but it did beat it. But according to this guy who knows him, they weighed it. They brought it back to the dock to weigh it. They weighed it on land, which most of you guys know that if you want to certify something for a state record, it has to be weighed on land, on dry land, and then the scale has to be certified, later on to make sure it's all good. Well, according to this guy's story, and again, this could be made up, but I hope it's not. The deal is that the DNR said that they were going to have to kill the fish to certify it as the state record, and this guy said basically F you and turned it loose.
Yeah, why would you kill something that is that? That just makes no sense.
You're talking it potentially 10+ year old fish.
Oh yeah, every bit of it.
Those
And
genetics.
yeah,
and
the genetics in the water.
It may be too old to spawn, but if it's lived that long, man, like what I would say for me, I'd be like, look, guys, I caught the world record, whether you guys want to believe it or not. Here's the picture and here's what it weighed, especially now that you have video. I think that that's kind of BS if that's how it happened, because if you kill a fish, the fish is going to weigh less when it dies than when it's alive. You're going to have some evaporation of body fluids, it's just going to weigh less. So why would you want to kill it? Now, I can understand doing like Texas does, where they, take it into captivity and then spawn it in captivity and spread those genes out all over, whatever they can, but they weren't going to do that. Somebody was going to freaking make a turd out of that thing. I'm sure of it.
Jeez, that's ridiculous. That's called ShareLunker program. And I wish to God that a lot more states took that into account, that if you get a fish that is a certain size in your area and it's considered a trophy, because like West Virginia has what they call theirs
Citation.
you get a citation fish, and it's got to be a certain size. They know that that's a big fish for their area. They ought to take those fish in and take them to their areas where they have their fish hatcheries and spawn them out and make more of them, because that is the gene pool you want in the water.
Yep. I get that. I think that, Kentucky is doing a little bit more now. I see that Kentucky is doing a better job of putting fish in places. Ohio is kind of mediocre about it. West Virginia is kind of taking, I think that they're kind of jumping in on board where they're now going to start stocking some tiger bass or F1 in the areas. You see Jason Kenner post all the time about that stuff in his page and stuff. And for some reason, I don't understand why ODNR and Kentucky DNR, they always want to stock these fish that first off, maybe there's a lot more people that care about them than I do. I love catching muskie, don't get me wrong, but I saw that ODNR just released something like 1 million muskie in Ohio waters the other day, which,
Yes.
okay, man, but like, why? Like, does muskie fishing bring in that much money to Ohio? I'm guessing no way it brings in as much money as bass fishing. But you never see them putting bass in any lakes. They just claim, oh, there's bass in there. They self-replicate or reproduce. Like, yeah, they might, but it kind of dives into the area now where everybody's kind of understanding that, harvesting some bass is needed to keep the ecosystem alive. If you have, like, I think that's the biggest issue right now with Grayson. Grayson is absolutely loaded to the gills with 8-inch fish. You can go out there and catch 150 a day.
Yep.
But you can't do anything with them. You can't take them out of there. You can't eat them. You can't take them out and put them on another pond. They're just there. So I think that's what happens is that, catch and release is amazing. I love catch and release. I haven't ate a bass in 20 years probably. But I'm going to start harvesting some bass in areas where there's smaller limits. Like in Kentucky, the hardest part is a 15-inch bass is a good-sized bass. Man, I think like at Grayson, they definitely need some sort of like a slot limit. For a couple of years anyway, to get some of those fish out of there.
Yeah, I wish that would kind of pan out more on Cave Run. I know you guys have fished Cave Run quite a bit, and
Cave Run's a different easy, man. Like I told you, I fished last year, had a tournament there, and I fished and I had a 5 bass limit that was under 2 pounds.
Yeah, you just never hear good weights come out of there.
Loaded with muskie. I don't know. Anyway, guys, we're about that 56-minute mark. If you guys have any questions for Brad or any of us, let us know here in the next couple minutes. If not, we are going to hop off here and call it a day on another line live. So appreciate you guys sticking around. Don't forget about the river rat that's going to be coming out. Looks like it says, I didn't see Andrew said he'd be 15,000 buys it tonight. I would ask him if he wants the boat or the trailer. Which one do you want for that, Brad? Anyway, my boat is for stuff.
Yes, I can tell you this. I've seen your boat, and it's worth every penny of it because you have taken super good care of that boat. It looks brand new.
Yep, it's I take care of my stuff just for the simple fact is I don't have a ton of cash, and I'm already having buyer's remorse buying a new boat, and I haven't even bought one yet. So that's.
Oh, there he goes. Brad, are you still here? You on here too?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah.
His internet must have been out. It's that Ohio stuff,
Yeah, yeah. It's probably the storms too. That ain't helping either because it's literally lightning and thunder in here. I'm in my atrium where my big windows are, and it has been flashing like crazy.
Hey, shoot, I'll take it. We need the rain for the rivers and for the lakes and for our grass, but.
It definitely is. It's happening right now, and like I said, it's been flashing off and on since we've been on the phone here for the last hour.
Yeah, maybe that came through and took out his internet, but anywho, it's about that time anyway. But Brad, thanks for joining us on here, man, and of course we will.
I appreciate you all having me. I really do. I appreciate you having me.
And hopefully we get a few people over that way to Borders. You've got a great setup, and you always help me out.
Well, I appreciate you guys. I really do. I appreciate you having me on the show, and I appreciate you as customers too.
All right, guys. Well, have a good week, and if you can get it out there, lean on a few. See ya.
Yes, see ya.